Welcome to Tim and Julie Harris Superstar Interviews. We're joined by Pearce, the Director of Digital Strategy for BoomTown, an online real estate lead generation platform based in Charleston, South Carolina. Rivers and his team are tasked with generating website traffic and leads for a 600-plus client base via pay-per-click and inbound marketing. He's passionate about helping clients navigate the ever-changing landscape of online marketing so that they can focus on what they do best, helping customers navigate the ever-changing world of real estate. Rivers joins us today to discuss BoomTown and help us to understand the features of this platform that have given BoomTown such incredible popularity with real estate agents. Now to your host, Tim Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Hey, Rivers, we hear your phone in the background. But welcome to welcome to today's radio show. That was your cell phone?
No, that was my office phone.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if that's your cell phone, that's alarming. Well, welcome to today's radio show. I really appreciate you being my co-host. I'm really looking forward to actually, it's funny. Tim and I were talking before the show. Normally, people ask to be interviewed, but your company, and probably 3 or 4 other companies, I asked Tim to seek out interviews with, because BoomTown is one of those companies that I would say a vast majority of our top producing coaching clients use. So it's something a lot of people are very passionate about, and I really appreciate you setting aside some time today to be my co-host.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited to be chatting with you today, and I appreciate the opportunity.
So for those who are not really knowledgeable about BoomTown, let them know what it does, kind of give them the elevator pitch on basically what the service provides.
Sure. We're basically an end-to-end real estate platform. So what is that? It's kind of a 3-part process, I like to say. I would say step 2 would be our website, which is a WordPress-based website. It's fully responsive down to mobile devices. And then the back end is a CRM and sales and marketing platform that basically is very tightly integrated with the website. So we have a lot of behavioral algorithms on the backside that drive a lot of the tool set that we provide to our clients, the real estate professionals and mortgage professionals, that allow them to, interact and market to their leads in a very efficient, effective way. And I would say my part of the business would be step 1, which is finding traffic, finding qualified people, bringing them into the client's websites, and then turning them into leads. And then we kind of let our, what we call success management team, take over and work with the agents from that point on, and taking the lead all the way through to the closing, or, whatever that transaction may be. So, we are an end-to-end platform, and provide, the one thing I did notice, you guys said we had 600 clients. We have about 1,100 clients now. So on any given day, we've got about 18 to 20,000 agents using our platform across the U.S. and Canada.
So here's what I heard you say. I think I heard you correctly. First of all, you guys use the basically most up-to-date consumer-friendly websites, and then you create these websites for your subscribers, your agents.
Yep.
And then you guys essentially, you help to promote and generate leads into that website for that agent. Is that correct so far?
You got it. You got it.
And that's your personal area of expertise, which is perfect. And then after that, you guys probably also have, well, I know you do, a very robust lead follow-up platform. Essentially, it's not just generating the lead. You then help cultivate that lead and hopefully becoming a closable transaction. Is that pretty much it?
You got it. You get everything from, once the lead is in the door, you get kind of your standard listing property alert emails. We have a drip functionality in the platform as well. We have Craigslist postings, so you can post Craigslist through the platform. We have another product called Best Fit Leads that will basically, you put in some criteria, or you put in an address, and it's going to comb through the database and surface those leads that would be a best fit for that property. And then you could call or email, and we're layering in a text functionality that will allow you to contact and market to those leads as well. And we also have something called the Opportunity Wall, which is a behaviorally driven, algorithmically driven, real-time list. It's kind of like a Facebook wall. It's like a real-time list of leads that would be the best opportunity at that time for an agent to call. So if you think about, if you've got 10, 15 minutes of downtime, who do you call when you've got 5,000 people in your database? The opportunity wall is there. You can access it from your mobile. You can access it from a desktop to say, all right, hey, you know what? This person's on the site right now. The third time this week, I'm going to give them a call. So we try to give the agent a very robust tool set to help them not only take a new lead through to a closing, but also interact with everything in between.
So BoomTown is just the last bit's pretty cool. So it's worth mentioning, I think, again. I'm translating this for agents that aren't technologically geared. So the bottom line is, we have 50,000 listeners, and let's be realistic. We have probably about maybe 5,000 that are 100% keeping up with what you're saying. But conceptually, it's important. It's important that they get this. So the last bit was pretty cool. I really like what you just said. So in essence, what you're saying is you guys will monitor the people that are in the agent's lists, and then if you guys see, your systems see that those potential clients are logging in, reading, opening emails based on their behavior, indicates hypothetically whether, their level of interest, and then you then will tell that agent, hey, these particular leads in your list are probably getting hot, and you need to call them. That's what when you're describing. That's pretty cool. Well, let's start at the very beginning. What is working? Your area of expertise, I think I heard you say, Rivers, is essentially helping to generate that online lead. I know there's a lot of alchemy and witchcraft with that nowadays because one idea comes up and then it doesn't take any more like a month for it to become oversaturated, like Facebook ads and things. Right. I mean, I'm sure you experience that constantly. So what is working for you guys to generate leads for your subscribers?
Sure. And without giving away too much of the secret sauce, the bottom line is paid search, especially AdWords through Google, is just a constant. I look at it like this. Facebook, the two big drivers, Facebook and Google AdWords right now would be the ones for paid lead generation, the one where you're putting budget in, you're getting direct lead generation out of it. AdWords always works well because you're capturing demand. So somebody's going to Google, they're typing in homes for sale in XYZ city, and you're putting an ad in front of them. So you're putting out strategic nets, and you're capturing that demand as it comes in the door, and then hopefully they sign up when they get to the website and they become a lead and buy a house. And the other side would be Facebook. There's a billion people there. You can't ignore it. You've got to be a little bit more strategic with how you're marketing there because you're pushing an ad out in front of someone. So you're not capturing demand, you're trying to create demand. But the beauty of Facebook is the multiple layers of targeting and how granular you can get with who you're going after. So single moms in Las Vegas that are 35 to 45 with two kids in the house and read Better Homes and Gardens or something. Like you can get down to that level of targeting and hit them with a message that, you're putting something in front of them, but at the same time, it should be targeted enough to elicit some sort of response. And then once they get to the website, you're still trying to do the same thing. I mean, the vast majority of people are looking at photos, they want to look at property, and eventually you throw a form and try to get them to sign up. But those are your two most consistent channels, paid search and Facebook right now. I would say for the vast majority of agents and brokers out there, that's going to be the bulk of their digital budgets.
So again, without giving away your secret sauce, what is working that's not paid? What's working that's not paid?
Okay. What's working that's not paid? Sure. Facebook still works very well, even if you're not buying ads or boosting posts. It's just a matter of being committed to using your business page as a channel and as a networking channel, almost as a extension of your CRM in a lot of ways. But the other side is following all the, without getting into too much SEO, all of the Google algorithm changes like Panda and Penguin and this local search pigeon update. The things that are working there are really strong, relevant, engaging content. That's what's going to work well on that side, on the organic side, and then kind of using social media as a way to promote that content you're creating. Or so whether that's something like this, like an interview type thing, whether that's video, whether that's a blog post, whether that's an infographic, whatever that media is that you're trying to promote. I would say it's not paid marketing, but you are putting in your time and energy. So it's pretty much how you value that. I like to make sure that when you talk about SEO or inbound marketing, organic content marketing, social media marketing, that we're not talking about free. You know, a lot of people associate that with free, and I would argue that is actually the most expensive type of marketing you could be doing because of the amount of time that you have to put into it and the length of time it takes to build organically in this day and age. So, you know, those things definitely work, but you've got to be very committed to it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. All those things are true. So your average user, you guys have nearly 20,000 or 20,000 users. How much, like, we have listeners, and I'm sure some of them will become your users. What would they expect to pay on average? And I did hear what you, and I'll help you get started here. And I'm sure a lot of it depends on how much pay-per-click they want you guys to manage for them, correct?
Sure. It does, but you know, we are primarily a product for the small to mid-sized broker or an agent team. So an agent, a single agent is probably not going to be, I won't say ready for our platform, but you know, we start at $1,500 a month. So that's just the platform fee. So, you know, it's you get 10 users on the platform for $1,500 a month. So that's usually out of the single agent's budget. So we're a very good tool for the small to mid-sized broker and the agent team, and then we can scale up to there. And we have clients that have several hundred people on our platform. So, and then after that, you know, we recommend based on your team size, I would say at least $1,000 a month in some sort of paid marketing. You know, so all in, you're probably looking at anywhere from close to $30,000 a year investment for our platform. But that may sound like a big number on the front side, but the ROI on the other side can be exponential. So once you commit to the system and build the pipeline, and you're getting your sphere in there, and we can also ingest leads from all the major portals, your pipeline can quickly grow, and then the deals, you know, just start flowing at that point.
You know, that is interesting what you said, and I do honestly appreciate what you said. This is not something that's for everybody. This is expensive, and agents out there who are getting geeked up listening to what we're talking about, and we haven't even talked about the number of leads yet, because I know the number could be epic depending on your market. Agents, listen, always lead with revenue. You heard him say it in a slightly different way than we do, but lead with revenue. Don't be committing yourself to something like this until you can truly afford it, and it does give you something to look forward to. I mean, after you basically have figured out how to build your own business, you know, and then you can start affording to buy business. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you're leading with revenue and not going into debt and not, you know, obligating yourself to something you're not ready for. Really important, agents, that you don't make that mistake. And don't call these guys or any of the other folks we interview and, you know, not have the money already. So you guys, just like when you're looking to hire your first assistant, depending on your price range and your average commission, you should have had very consistent, probably 3 to 5 transactions per month for at least 3 months in a row before you can truly feel comfortable financially supporting an assistant. Again, if you're in New York or LA, it might be different. And these guys, when you're taking on an expense like this, it's the same thing. You guys must counsel your users. Yeah.
We do, and we're committed to helping our clients succeed. You know, I mean, that's the bottom line. And we have had a lot of clients that have come in with 2 people and committed and grown to a 20-person team in 18 months. It's just about following the system, and we have several recommended ways of using our platform to create business. You know, so it's if you got a system in place, and if you are open to some coaching and some training. It can be, like I said, an exponential return, but it is something you need to definitely be prepared for. And like you said, with an assistant, it's like we kind of want, it's best for people like that ISA model really works well on our platform. And when you're talking about the volume of leads coming in the door, that's where you really have to have processes and systems in place. And that's where BoomTown integrates into that system and allows you to handle that kind of volume on a monthly basis.
Well, you know, yesterday we did a conversation, we had a radio show, Julie and I presented, where we were talking about essentially, you know, coaching agents on how to choose the perfect real estate broker. And I should have had another point. We should have had point 11. So guys, we're editing yesterday's show, and here's another thing to consider when choosing your perfect real estate broker or real estate brokers if you're looking for retention, let alone recruiting tools. Offering something like this where you're able to provide leads, that is a great idea. So agents, look for brokers that might offer it, and brokers maybe consider offering it. You know, it's funny. Yeah, well, Rivers, I don't know if you've seen this, but Julie and I live in Austin, so maybe we're a little bit spoiled here with all the different small real estate brokerages. But here it is, the center of the universe for Keller Williams. They're based here, and
Yep.
there's more independent brokerages here than I think there is in any other geographic area that we've certainly ever lived, spoken in, traveled to. They're just friggin' everywhere. You see all these little mom and pops. And so those of you guys who are, having these small brokerages, I really think this would be something you definitely want to consider. Again, it is a big financial commitment, but if you've got existing agents, maybe you have them all chip in to help pay for it. Maybe it becomes part of their monthly
absolutely.
dues.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to do it. Yeah.
There's a ton of different ways to get the agents to buy in. Then they've got some skin in the game. They're going to use the system. And then, you can also leverage a mortgage professional, a lending partner to help offset some of the costs. So there are definitely ways to make it work. Like I said, it's just knowing the commitment up front and sticking with it.
And remember, always pay your coaching bill before you pay BoomTown.
And having a great coach, absolutely.
There you go. All right, so listen, let's talk about, we normally take a commercial, but I'm having fun, and hopefully you are too. So let's just let's talk about your best practices. Now, I'm not going to help you out here, but I do know a lot of my personal coaching clients that have been using you guys for a long time, and I know what they do. So you tell me from your perspective, talking with agents, seeing your users' actual activity online, the agents that are just hitting it out of the park, like, oh my God, the ones that are doing so well with it, Rivers, you actually think about quitting your job, getting a real estate licensing, and doing what they're doing. That kind of success. So who do you have? Give us some examples.
I've said many times I'm on the wrong side of this business sometimes.
Depending on the sale price, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. I'll say this, and I do focus mostly on the lead generation and traffic generation side, but I also served as a director of client services here for 2 years, so I'm fairly intimate with that side as well. But ultimately, if you look at the whole process, it's knowing. Let's say they've got you've got a 5-person team, and it's knowing how many leads are going to be optimal for that team to work. So anywhere from maybe 30 to 50 leads a month per agent. So something like that, where you're going to need at least 200, 250 leads coming in the door. So it's coming in with a business plan and understanding those goals first and foremost, what you're working towards 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Knowing that you're not going to get a ton of business necessarily right out of the gate with those first 90 days, and understanding, be able to plan for that. So actually having a business plan in place first, knowing how much budget you're going to need to allocate to marketing, and we can work with you obviously on that to say you're going to need X percent in paid search, you're going to need to be doing this type of Craigslist posting, et cetera, to make sure you're feeding the agents enough leads to get through any of the bogus ones that come in the door, and to get through the ones that are 2 years out, and really, that kind of scenario. And then it's coming to the table with that. And then secondly, as a broker or as a team leader, which are really our clients, they're the ones that are holding their agents accountable. And so if you can't hold an agent accountable to answer the phone in a timely fashion, to respond to somebody in a timely fashion, it's not going to work, no matter what, whether you're using Excel or whether you're using BoomTown.
Let me jump in there, Rivers. I'm going to support what you're saying and also point this out, because I have had coaching clients that have hired us to be their coaches that have had you guys prior to working with us, and that's the mistake that they were making every single time. They basically had a bunch of Lone Ranger type agents working for them as buyer's agents, weren't holding any of them accountable, were basically piling on leads and not really tracking who was converting and who wasn't converting and all that. And that's not running a business, basically. That's just essentially, I don't even know what that is. It's a recipe for going broke, honestly. So
it is. It's hurting cats.
Yeah, well, it is. And, that's, I don't get on my, team soapbox, but a lot of agents, most agents, I would go as far as to say, shouldn't have teams because of the fact that it's not going to lead to them actually making more net revenue themselves. But that's a totally different radio show, and I won't pull you down that rabbit hole with me. So back to your what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think, and we provide accountability dashboards in our system, which you've probably seen, that it shows when agents are logging in and what their response times are. And so it's being and having the guts to stand up and say, I paid for these leads for you. I gave you this system. You're working on my team. you're not pulling your share of the weight. So some people just can't do it, and maybe that's that's okay. But so what we find is when we let's say you've got, like I said, a couple hundred, maybe 500, 1,000 leads coming in the door on a monthly basis. At that point, we see that the people that kind of move into that ISA or kind of more a division of labor model, dealing with internet leads, the volume can be a little overwhelming at times. And so having a few people that are managing the inflow, the first ones coming in the door, that kind of customer care specialist, ISA, whatever you want to call it, so that your buyer's agents and your listing agents, and they're focusing on what they do best, which is working with hot leads, getting people in the car and showing homes and negotiating, and they're not having to deal with that initial follow-up and some of that stuff. If you take that off of their plate, we find that the production can go up quite a bit. And so it's just about saying, all right, and it's kind of, you said, it's like you bring on your assistant, and then the next step would be bringing in, a buyer's agent, whatever that model looks like for growing that from a single agent all the way up to a team potentially. We have clients that are very segmented in the sense they've got showing specialists that just drive people around. They've got people that just focus on the contract part and people that just answer the phones. And so that works exceptionally well. That kind of desk duty model also can work very well if you've got good agents, so they've got 2 days a week where they get all the leads. So if you've got great agents that can hold themselves accountable and can, are open to being coached and learning the system, that model can work very well too. So a lot of times what we found is that kind of round robin model. You have 1 or 2 bad agents can mess up the whole thing. And so, we really, like I said, are seeing the clients move more into that team kind of ISA type of model.
And you guys could hypothetically use BoomTown. I was just thinking while you were talking, the fallacy of the team model is the whole accountability aspect, and that they're independent contractors that are working for you as buyers agents mostly, and they don't want to be held accountable. That's the whole reason they became realtors in the first place. They didn't want to feel like they had jobs. Mm-hmm. But it would be interesting if you were in an office and you were in there with like 3 or 4 really strong agents that did have the capacity to handle large volume, that maybe they get together and form an informal team where they sort of start sharing the leads that come from it. There could all be tons of different ways to do this. It doesn't have to be a traditional team model where the rainmaker takes on all the risk. Do you mind if I ask you some drill down questions about lead quality and all that stuff? Because that's like the hot topic, right? It always will be.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay, good. I won't ask you too many zingers. So I've read and studied and done all this, for the sake of this radio show, different stuff that basically talks about the fact that when you get an internet lead especially, they either buy on basic initial contact, engage with you, or they pretty much never do. And I know there's a lot of controversy, especially for anyone that follows the ethos of a drip system, that's not the way it actually is. But anecdotally, I've seen from coaching clients, but that is the way it is, that if you just basically focus all your best energies, obviously on getting that lead immediately, like in, furiously fast lead follow-up is what we call it, and then you essentially ask them questions that are going to basically, draw out whether or not they're motivated, what their level of motivation is, whether they have a house to sell, all those types of pre-qual questions. And, if those people don't either make an appointment with you then or maybe after 1 or 2 follow-up calls, generally speaking, putting them in a drip email system, the quality of that lead, drops immensely after every day, let alone month. Do you have anything to counter that, or do you have you must watch this like a hawk?
Oh yeah, we do. You're right. You're right on when it comes to the quick follow-up. All of that is spot on. The thing we do see is that a good drip can work well on bringing people, as I say, back from the dead. A lot of times what you have is like I said, we're dealing with a volume, internet volume, and I'm in charge of delivering volume. So you are weeding through a lot of people that are maybe working with somebody else, just want to use the website, or 2 or 3 years out, or Donald Duck or whatever, So what we find is that a lot of people will just move on after, if they have a process like a 10 days of pain or something like that, they'll move on after that 10 days and just forget about that lead. But what we see is we have the capability, like I was saying, our algorithms see those leads still coming back and using the website. So they're favoriting properties, they're interacting with the website they're just not necessarily interacting with you. So maybe they're not ready. And so what we found is that we'll take somebody's database and set up, some custom drips potentially that we've written. And then we'll also maybe create a custom audience on Facebook, and we'll hit them with some marketing. And we found that we can bring 10, 20, 30% of these people back from, say, like a trash category. And so kind of like trash to treasure is what we've been calling it, is in some of the testing, that they may come back just to say, hey, I really appreciate it. I'm still getting your listing alerts every week. I'm just still not ready, but thanks for reaching out. It's like, okay, hey, we've got contact again. And then we've also got some others that are like, I actually went ahead and purchased with somebody else, but I'm actually looking to sell now. Would you guys be interested in selling my home? Kind of like, so we found that you can generate a lot of business from that database. And when you've been doing, aggressive online lead gen for a couple of years, your database just from your internet leads could be, 10,000 strong. There's always opportunity in there. And so I always try to tell clients, don't always just focus on new lead generation. Yes, it's important. You need to be filling up the front end of the pipeline, but let's make sure that you're not forgetting about what exists. It's always easier to keep a client than to earn a new one. So,
But if you have one phone call to make, agents, and I don't think Rivers will, I think he'll agree with me. And if not, please don't agree with me, argue with me. These radio shows are always more fun when we have some controversy. But if you have one phone call to make, you're about to get on a plane, or you're on the plane, they're telling you to turn your cell phones off, and one is to an old lead and one is to a new lead, call the new lead first. You can argue with that one?
If it's
you are
old,
good.
If it's an old lead, I would say you're right. If it's an old, a past client, potentially, I would say then call the past client.
You're reshuffling the deck now. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. All right.
So but if it's a new lead, call the new lead.
The feedback from your users, again, a lot of top producers use you guys. If 100 leads come in, right, what percent of those leads? And again, this is kind of a crappy question because it really does depend on so many variables that you guys can't control. But if 100, your top users, right, your top 1% of all your users, they have 100 leads. How many of those generally can they convert into a transaction, say 60 days or less?
Our top producers should be converting at about 5%. If not, we have some are 7, 8, 9%.
So that goes. So the reason I ask that question is because a lot of folks are confused about the quality of an internet lead, and it's what's proven is if you can get the phone number and you can call them right away. And, Rivers, help me drill down on that. I like to do this on this radio show to remind them. Again, best practices. What have you seen the most effective, like how long is too long to call a fresh lead when it shows up in one of these agents' pipelines?
I think after 48 hours, it's kind of gone.
I don't 5 minutes or less is like, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I personally don't love the 5 minutes or less, but it does work. So I'm a little bit more like kind of the inbound mentality of give them a little bit more room to breathe. But, the 5 minutes or less works. There's no way around it. The data shows it. But, getting in touch with them in the first couple of hours usually is still effective. It's like after that first day, it just drops off a cliff.
Is it possible that the same lead would be in 2 of your subscribers' databases?
Yep, absolutely. And in probably 10 other people's databases.
Right.
If you think about it, they're not just looking at our website. They're looking at Zillow, Truly, a Realtor. They're everything.
Well, okay, so you're helping me make my point about the quality of new lead versus an old lead. If you guys get to those new leads, because what he just said is so true, and you guys know this, especially those of you who've been buying buyer leads for a long time from the big portals, you're buying that lead from, pick your company, and that same lead is also, I've heard so many times from especially new coaching clients who are just starting with us where they're buying leads from, the big 3, and they're paying for the same lead 3 different times. That's something I really started seeing about 2 years ago. And that oversaturation issue, that's not going to get any better. That's going to get worse. Or do you agree with that or no?
You're right. I agree. But this year's been better. There's a lot more demand out there in the marketplace, but more demand means that people are selling more property, which means they're putting more marketing dollars into the system, which means that they're going to be in front of a lot of the same people. So there's no way around it. I say you work the lead the best that you can. And once it's in the system, it's kind of every man for himself at that point. Work it and earn it and get that client.
Do you guys have any sort of future-facing forecasts based on what you're seeing as far as new leads coming to the system? Are you seeing any trends upwards, downwards, or any predictions for next year? Do you guys do that?
We don't necessarily formally, but I mean, I can tell you right now things are a little quiet, but that's season. Day after Christmas, that activity kicks back in. January it kicks back in, in earnest. But our clients in the South and in the warmer areas, this is a really hot time for them. But I think the bottom line is Facebook's not going away. Mobile is clearly not going away. Search is the kind of like standby. But if you're not using, I would say from a lead gen perspective, I would say more from a digital marketing perspective. If you don't have a website that is at least somewhat comparable to Zillow, Truly, or Realtor.com in user experience, you're probably going to lose, because people just don't have the time for a subpar digital experience, and especially on a mobile device. So even if you don't have an app, if you've got a nice responsive website, if you don't, there's just too many other options. So you really need to be thinking forward. You're already behind the game if you're not mobile yet. So I would say that's really where it's at, is that user experience, regardless of how you're acquiring that traffic.
Rivers said this several times, guys, and it's really worth noting. The websites that you guys have, whether it's through BoomTown or wherever else, has to be responsive. If you don't know what that means, just go to Google and put in the keywords WordPress responsive real estate themes. Just put in those keywords and you'll read all about it. We see on our forecasting a pivot towards companies trying to get into the seller leads business. Right now, there's I don't even.
Sure.
Someone told us during a radio show like a month ago that he thinks there's over 200 companies now selling buyer leads to agents in one form or another. Do you think there's going to be a trend towards paid seller lead generation?
Absolutely. I mean, it's already happening. We're doing it heavily as well. It's the home val, what's my home worth type of play. I mean, you've got a ton of people in that space right now. So it's figuring out how to. It's a totally different play than buyers, because buyers, you're just capturing demand. There's a lot of demand from the buyers. It's explicit. But with sellers, there's not a lot of people going to Google and typing in what's my home worth, home valuation calculator, they kind of automatically would go to Zillow or something for something like that. And so getting in front of them and capturing that, it's kind of latent demand. It's like under the surface or peaking that demand is what's the challenge there. And so I think that's definitely a big piece of what's going to be happening next year. There's a lot of markets with tight inventory, so it's definitely happening. We have clients asking for or allocating more budgets towards, seller demand gen and listing demand gen already. So I think that's definitely a big piece of next year.
Of the millions of leads you guys generate per year for your users, your subscribers, I mean, there has to be 30% at least of those buyer leads that are also having houses to sell. If the agents were just to do some good follow up and ask, we always I'll share with our listeners this real quick script, because every time I do this, people like send me emails and thank me, but it's so basic. You call them back. Hey, this is Tim Harris with ABC Realty. As a courtesy, when someone requests, I'm going to kind of pivot so it's more like for BoomTown. When someone requests information about a home for sale, we like to give them a quick call back to answer any other questions they might have about that home. And then the buyer will ask more, is it available, price, whatever. And then you say, well, let me check to make sure that one's still available and see if I can find other properties that might be of interest to you. By the way, which home in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling? So opposed to getting, now that's copyrighted, so I don't want that showing up on a BoomTown website unless we're presenting it. Now, when you ask the question at the top of the call, listeners, that's going to put you in a position where they're not going to be expecting the question to be asked, and you are going to get a lot more seller leads that way. So ask that before you get into the bonding questions and before you try to tell them you have a golden retriever and so do you, all those types of things. Have that happen after you've vetted whether they're sellers, because there is no way that for every it's all price range dependent and market dependent. But I would venture a guess that all the BoomTown users out there, you guys are missing out on a massive number of seller leads if you were just to ask that question in the right time, at the right moment, then get ready to start stacking listing appointments. That's what we have all of our BoomTown subscribers using, and that is the feedback that they've given us. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think also, and I tell clients this all the time, is like there are sellers in your database just waiting to list their home, and so it's like you don't have to go out and find a bunch of new leads. A lot of, like you were saying, the majority of the database that's sitting there waiting for you to mine it. Those are the ones that they're going to have to sell something, a good majority of them. So that's the other piece, that when clients kind of like, no, I just need new leads. I'm like, well, why don't we talk about some database marketing tactics, some emails, some Facebook custom audiences, things like that are going to hit the leads you already have. That there's a gold mine sitting there. I think that's what people forget about with internet leads.
And call them back quickly, guys. Call them back instantly. Furiously fast lead follow-up. Rivers and I can debate on another radio show about, whether it's 24 hours or 48 hours or right away. But we'll, just for the sake of the fact that this is our radio show and Rivers is a guest, we're just going to all agree that 5 minutes or less is the right way to do it.
Absolutely.
Right, Rivers? No,
I'll give you that.
There you go. There you go.
I agree.
Being polite.
I agree.
Yeah. So there's that. So make sure you're calling everyone back immediately. And then make sure you're using a script and you're having a very predictable conversation. And if you are delegating these leads, you got to make sure they're following a script and they're vetting out pulling out the seller leads. And if you have independent agents, if you have however you're going to run it, give them a form. Make it a web form. Make it an app. Doesn't matter. Make it so that they have to fill out the answers to the questions. So that the questions are being asked in the right order. A lot of agents, for some unknown reason, are afraid to have conversations with owners or with consumers about selling a home. It's something that intimidates them if they don't have experience being listing agents. So if you guys are spending thousands of dollars generating leads for agents that work for you in your brokerage or as part of your team, you sure as heck have to be holding them to a minimum standard so you're getting your dollar's worth. Any questions I should have asked you? I said shouldn't have asked you. Are there any questions I should have asked you today, Rivers, that I didn't?
No. I think you're spot on, man. Like I said, when it comes from a marketing perspective, I think my main piece of advice in looking at next year is don't go chasing the shiny objects. That's every year. And the other side is if you're not committed to really a full inbound organic SEO strategy and really knowing what that takes, put your money into paid search or into Facebook, into paid direct lead generation, because you will not be satisfied with the amount of leads coming through the door for the first year probably of an organic or inbound type of strategy. And I've seen it happen time and time again. It's not old school SEO anymore. You can't just fire some links at something and get some website traffic. It takes real marketing now. And the idea of free internet leads and free social media is dead. You've really got to pay to play, whether that's time and energy or actual real dollars and cents.
Well, I was going to wrap, but you just said something and it's perfect. My high-end coaching clients, the people selling hundreds of houses per year who spent God knows how much on SEO over the years, and all this Panda 2.0. It's this nice, cute, fuzzy bear that wants your website to drop off the face of the earth. I mean, that's really what it is. So I've told all of our users to do is give up on SEO basically and just go towards paid lead generation, because the amount of money you're going to waste on trying to get your website perfect just to have Google reshuffle the deck in 6 months. It just isn't worth it anymore. And you can do really effective pay-per-click stuff and come out ahead and have more,
Absolutely.
Almost more predictable results, assuming. But you know what, though? It's easier said than done, right? I'm sure you guys have spent, the ads that you run on Facebook, you guys are obviously honing your ability to write really good copy. There's a lot to it. There's not just putting up an ad. There's putting up an ad that actually elicits a response, and that's not easy to do. So,
no, and I'll say this: when it comes to Facebook advertising, so not promoted posts through your page, but real Facebook advertising. When it comes to paid search, those are real kind of like what I say, big boy businesses now. You don't want to try to do that on your own. I say leave that to a professional. Hire somebody that knows what they're doing. That's a way to waste a ton of money. Now, when it comes to writing content and doing and time and learning, this is why I have a full-time staff of 15 people that just do paid advertising. This is a real business, you know, and that's, I think it's a misconception that, oh, I can do AdWords. Well, yeah, you can probably, but I can get you 10 leads for $100 and you might get one, kind of thing. And so that's the attitude I think that some of the people in the space, you know, the agent community at large, I want to try to get that message out there. But what they can control is if you do want to write blog posts, if you do want to be active in social media, that is something that probably should be more personal. But again, your expectations about what you're getting out of it also need to be set accordingly, that they are effective and they are good. And the thing, you know, a platform like BoomTown, it's SEO friendly out of the box. So if you use it and you're doing great things in the real world and you're getting links from social media, if you're getting links from charitable organizations and things you're working with, if you're doing speaking events and things like that, and if you are blogging, you will eventually get organic traction. But that's not because you're doing SEO tactics. It's because you're doing real things in the real world and growing a real business. Real businesses and real brands are the ones that win in search now. So that's kind of the misconception, I think, is that that's really what Google is doing, is saying, just go be real, have a good SEO-friendly, responsive, fast website with a good user experience, and you will get traction. That's it, you know?
Right. And what's what you know, the interesting thing too is, guys, is like everything he just said, the citation sites, right? Citation site would be like any place you put a profile. You know, basic stuff. Make sure the information's always the same. Make sure your description's the same. Make sure your phone numbers are the same. And have a personal relationship as much as you choose to. Please keep in mind the realtor safety pledge that we did a radio show on, you know, not so long ago. But realistic conversations with your, you know, whatnots. That way, when someone does do a search on you specifically, they're going to come up and see that you're engaged on different, you know, social networks or, you know, citation sites, really is what kind of the industry term for them is. And then as far as the lead generation stuff, that almost needs to be seen as a separate, almost like a separate entity. Whereas before, you really they treat them as the same. But, you know, really at the end of the day, guys, the whole idea that you can game Google, maybe before, now, not a chance. So, if you're going to venture down, you can't. I mean, and they're just making, you know, the funny thing is they do these algorithm changes, and then they'll come out and say, oh, by the way, 6 months from now we changed some things in case you haven't figured it out yet. I mean, so it's not like, you know, anyway. Hey, man, I enjoyed it. I liked having you on. It was great. I learned some stuff, and I know our listeners did too. So, guys, there you go. You've been requesting that I interview someone from BoomTown. I just did, Mr. Rivers Pearce, which, by the way, what a cool name. What's the history on that?
Thank you. It is a family name. My great-grandmother's maiden name was Rivers, and so I got stuck with it, and I hated it until I got a little older and realized that it was kind of different and cool. So they were not hippies. Very distinctive.
Not hippies. I see you throw that in there.
Not hippies in my family. So, well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. This has been great chatting with you. I feel like I could talk all day about this stuff. So.
Me too. Well, we'll have you back. I mean, if you're up for it, I'll have our producer contact you, and we can maybe have you back on a regular basis. These are the types of conversations the agents need to be hearing, because you said something, and maybe another radio show, but you said be wary of the shiny, you know, silver objects or shiny objects that pop up every spring. And well, actually, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that just slightly in your own words, because that's another one of my soapboxes. That is something that every agent is tempted by, and your users, I'm sure, are tempted by it. Let them know what you mean by that.
Let me think of an example. All right, so case in point, the term remarketing. Are you familiar with the term remarketing?
Yes,
retargeting.
Well, they're not, though, so tell them.
Okay, so remarketing. Somebody comes to your website, and they land there, and then when they go somewhere else, you show them an ad. Like if you go to Amazon or Zappos and you look at something, and then you're on Facebook or you're on another website, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, how did they know that pair of shoes is following me around the internet? So I'm sure people have seen this time and time again. And what happens is you've got a lot of vendors out there that are saying remarketing is the new thing. You got to do remarketing. You got to do remarketing. And remarketing is great when it's in the right place in your larger digital strategy. So remarketing works with paid search and social by driving. With search, you're driving them into a certain page. When they don't execute the goal or the desired action you're trying to get them to do, then you remarket back to them. And so remarketing doesn't exist in a vacuum. And I think what's happening is a lot of vendors are going after agents saying, well, we got to do remarketing, but remarketing doesn't return really. It's more of a reinforcement of your brand in front of someone. It's trying to get some of those people that have already interacted with your website or with your brand to come back and perform some sort of action, whatever that goal is. And so it's things like that when I have clients who are like, we got to do remarketing. All right, well, you're not even doing any other paid media. So before you go there, that's a real high in the funnel or kind of middle of the funnel marketing tactic. You need leads. And so what we need to be doing is paid search. So it's things like that, that it's setting expectations right, that it's not the agent or real estate professional's job to understand the ins and outs and the nuances of digital marketing. That's my job. And what happens is you get a lot of people, and especially in the SEO space, in the SEO vendor space, that are a little bit predatory and prey on that lack of industry or lack of digital marketing knowledge. And so it's an easy way to spend a lot of money and not see any return. And so I just always want people, to counsel them to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it definitely is. It always is in digital marketing. And knowing that really your tried and true tactics are going to be paid search. It's bottom of the funnel. It's demand capture. And the other side, Facebook now is definitely hot. It's not, it's still kind of evolving. The platform itself is, but those are the two channels you should be focusing on, and email and the telephone. It's like beyond that, don't expect lead gen. Don't expect lead gen out of display marketing. Don't expect lead gen necessarily out of remarketing or just pure social media. Those are different types of tactics that are, once you've gone down the road, you've got a healthy business, you're looking to grow your business, you're looking to recruit, gain market share, that's where you need to get into some of these higher funnel digital activities. And I think that's kind of what happens with a lot of these new things that come out. They're just not focused on what really is going to matter to the agent, from a lead generation perspective.
Well, it's because they don't have enough information and they're sold into the product or whatnot out of fear, right? And oftentimes it's, if you don't buy it, we're going to sell it to the agent, that you're sharing the cubicle with. So, I mean, exactly. You guys you really have to understand what the whole comings and goings of whatever it is you're buying. It's like Warren Buffett, when he's talking about, they're asking, Warren, do you invest in this industry or that industry? And he says he won't invest in an industry that, he doesn't understand. And let's assume Warren Buffett's pretty damn smart. So when he's not making an investment into something, maybe that's something that you shouldn't be investing in as well. So when you are getting those inevitable, and man, in the spring it's going to be incredible. You guys, everybody listening, you guys should be putting yourselves on the do not call list, because you're going to be getting so many solicitations from every single, company. Well, again, these companies, Rivers, they call us, they email us mostly, and they're wanting to be on the radio show. And then, we check them out, and we do some research on them, and we find out a lot of times they're selling these fear-type products that really serve no purpose other than getting the realtor to reach for their credit card, and we don't, it's one thing for me, I'm not going to publicly out these companies, but I am going to give you guys the tools, hopefully on this radio show, to educate yourselves on making smart decisions. BoomTown is a smart decision. I can't really say it more than that. And why am I saying that? Because I've heard it from dozens of our own personal coaching clients. They love the service. So if you're at that level where you can make a big financial commitment, and for a lot of you, you're not, so let's just be real, it's something you can look forward to. But if you are, there's going to be a link, and Rivers, please give us the link so we can put it in the show description. There's going to be a link that you guys can jump on and check it out and see what they have to offer for you. And hopefully Rivers will give you some sort of exclusive offer in the link. See, I'm putting all this pressure on you.
Absolutely, we definitely will. I will get something out. I'll get something out to you guys today.
All right, cool, and we'll follow up. So, listeners, thank you very much for listening in. Hey, Rivers, this might have gone down as my longest radio show this whole year, so we had fun.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, this has been really good. Let me know if you need anything. I'll send you a link. Feel free to contact me directly if needed, and hopefully we can do this again.
Cool, man. Have a great weekend. And, hey, listeners, as always, Merry Christmas. Your homework from this radio show, along with all the hundreds of others that we've done, is make sure you're sharing the link with as many of your fellow realtors as you possibly can. Help us get the word out that we're in a new real estate boom, and frankly, there's never been a better time and probably never will be a better time for you to get into action helping others and making a ton of money. So on behalf of Julie and myself, we'll talk with you on the radio tomorrow. Thank you, Rivers.